What is history if not a story told to us about the past? You know, for all the data that we can collect, all the inputs we can collect, people have rightly said history is a lie, that history is a story, sorry, that everybody's agreed to accept. Okay. Now, I don't know whether it's a lie or a truth, or a truth in, you can say, in work in progress. Okay. Why am I putting this kind of start to this story? For a simple reason. There are two classifications normally put forward: history and historical fiction. I just want to stress that when we don't really know what history is, I don't see much problem with historical fiction, as long as it does not tamper with the known facts and it builds the story or the dialogues that happen between the main characters, you know, out of sync with known historical facts. I personally love historical fiction because you see, most history does not give you a day to day dialogue or conversation or the insight into the mind of the characters that were in part of history. When I looked at historical fiction, my exposure came from the book of winner Wolf Hall, and that could easily have been the book that I spoke about today because it's come very close. It's a great book. It takes you right there into Elizabethan times. It takes you right there into the Tudor court and how machinations were happening, how people were being, manipulated, killed, or how people were competing for courtroom benefits. Sorry, I mean the royal court's benefits. But still, being a typical Booker kind of a book, it's a little heavy. It has subplots, it has innuendos, etc., etc. A lot of things which you need to really understand to appreciate. My passion for history has led me to believe that everybody should read history. Everybody should be interested in history. And there are no beautiful stories that man can write except what have been written in the past by human beings. Therefore, the best characters, the best exciting dramas that have not happened in Games of Thrones, have not happened on Netflix. They have happened right there in the world history. So today I want to talk about an author and a book which gave me that history like a thriller. I want to talk about Philippa Gregory. I read this book, Taming the Queen, and it was so amazing that I immediately went back to most of the bookstores that I knew and picked up every Philippa Gregory book that I could find. I read many of her books and I have loved every one of them. This particular book tells the story of Henry VIII's fifth wife. I don't know how many of you know, but Henry VIII was one of the most defining kings of England. He is also a very funny, notorious character, hated, found evil, as well as loved or made fun of because of he was extremely overweight in his later years. And he had five wives. Four of them died, many of them killed by Henry himself, and all of the other reasons. And each of his wives and his marriages had an interesting story. Okay, every one of them. Coincidentally, Catherine Parr, which is the story of this queen, the queen in this book, is one of the least known of those stories. Okay, most of his other wives and his other, marriages are more subject to history and taught in British schools. I mean, we all, I understand from India, do not really know much about Henry VIII. And even if we do know, we know him as the king who started bringing Protestantism into England. That's all we know. And when he was going through his first divorce, the Pope did not allow him to go for a divorce, and therefore he divorced England from the Catholic Church and said, "To hell with the Catholic Church! I create my own church, Church of England, and I shall be the leader of the church." And that is where England became Protestant. So all of the history of England becoming Protestant and the Church of England being independent rose because Henry VIII did not get a divorce. So that story is very well known because it changed British history. The beauty of Philippa Gregory is she picked on the wife, which is least known among the these things, Henry VIII's wives, Kathleen Parr, and then tells an enchanting story. This is a thriller if there ever was one. The drama, the suspense, the rivalry between courtroom ladies beats Ekta Kapoor hands down. I mean, I would say that she could make a serial on this. I tried to Google and cross check, and most of the facts and about the Seymour family and what is happening in England and all the other noble families mentioned in this drama, most of the story is true. So that's the beauty of it. Nowhere has she taken the liberty, as per me, to not tell what happened. All she's done is taken the story and now made it a first, made it a correct, what do you call, engaging story, made it dramatic. If I was ever to tell history, that is how I would want to tell it. There are such amazing facts. What you need to do is simply make it thrilling and exciting, fast paced, and that's what she's done. And I was mind blown. Henry VIII comes to life. His courtroom, the different nobles come to life, and you see there are nobles that get disgraced. There are people that get killed because the king doesn't like them or fall out of favor, and there is thrill. Which group is going to win? Which among the noble ladies is going to triumph? Catholics, Protestants. Even though you know that England went Protestant in the end, how is it going to materialize? You see the ups and downs, that all of that is well put. Then she also brings about the historical role of Kathleen Parr, which has probably not been really appreciated, in the sense that Kathleen Parr was one of the first queens to start reading the Bible, to start reading anything in general, and it was considered very radical at that time. I mean, here's a queen, why doesn't she just enjoy, eat, dress up? She wants to talk theology. Sitting in her group also happened to be a young Elizabeth who was heavily influenced by Kathleen Parr. Kathleen Parr, for this insolence of trying to get educated or show that she's very smart, almost got killed by her husband. In the end, she survives by completely subduing her female self respect, bowing to her husband, and literally letting him beat her, actually beat her. She goes as far as to give him the stick and says, "Look, I have been bad and insolent, so you should, teach me a lesson." That's why the book is called Taming the Queen. The justification of Kathleen Parr in the end is this: she survived, the only of Henry VIII's queens to survive. She survives Henry VIII also. She survives all this intrigue, and by what you can call bowing down at the right moment, she lives to influence history. She realizes that she cannot challenge the king, but by outliving him, by leaving the legacy of her ideas to Elizabeth for future, which, she manages to change the lives of millions of women today. So she read and she questioned the scriptures. So Elizabeth learned that, and Elizabeth encouraged it. So England became open minded, and hence women came to this position. In the end, maybe I don't know whether the real Catherine Parr would have thought it that through. She tries to say that she has bent down and buried her ego for now, for posterity. What I loved about Philippa Gregory is the way her characters, you know, unfold, and the plot thickens and the various groups fight it out. It just tells me that history can be presented so excitedly. Thanks to Philippa Gregory, I could really never appreciate Game of Thrones. Once you have read characters like Seymour's and you know all the other British noble families fighting each other out, fiction doesn't excite. I thought it was a one book wonder, so I brought on other books by Philippa Gregory. Most of them are from the same medieval England period, Tudor period, and none of them disappointed me. So I actually felt if I could somehow connect with her and give her an absolute Mexican wave fan tribute to say that she has done to history what I always fantasized should be done. This is how I wish somebody would present all of the historical characters. I have read a lot of these books on historical fiction in the Indian context. People have tried to do that to the Mughals, people have tried to do that to many other things. I am sorry, I think each and every one of them needs to read Philippa Gregory to know what a thriller is. Thank you.